โมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ Blessings and good evening to you all. We've come together on the occasion of Magha Puja, the full moon in February. And for us here in Melbourne, Australia, this is the beginning of autumn. So the nights are getting cooler, but the weather is still dry, so a very suitable day to come together to practice Dhamma, meditate, chant, recollect the Buddha, and remember this particular occasion, Magha Puja, when he gave the Ovada Patimokkha teaching. If you've ever been to India, to the Veluwana Rama, the monastery where the Buddha taught the Ovada Patimokkha, the weather is not so different at this time of year. Cold nights, dry, warm days, but not too hot. And these occasions where we come together to practice together, particularly full moon, new moon, this is something that Buddhists have been doing continuously since the time of the Buddha. It serves a useful purpose because we get a lot of strength in our practice from harmony in the group, coming together with a common purpose, common goal. Sukhasa samakhi. We get happiness when we come together in harmony as a group. And Luang Por Chah used to say, any group of people, if they come together in harmony with mutual respect, appreciation for each other, that group will always progress, go forward and go together in a good way. The opposite is disharmony, no respect, no appreciation for each other. Well, that group will be unpleasant to be in and won't progress, particularly in the Dhamma. And that applies whether we're talking about family, workplace, monastery, or the Buddhist community at large. And the Buddha pointed out that the real danger to the Buddhist teachings doesn't come from those who have no faith from without, but more from people who call themselves Buddhists on the inside but don't practice and don't develop respect and harmonious relations with fellow Buddhists. So the coming together regularly is something we do that's helpful to us as a community. We get mutual strength, mutual support from others who practice the Dhamma when we come together. We learn from each other. We get the good example of others who are practicing in a good way, keeping precepts, practicing mindfulness, respecting the Dhamma, meditating. In any group there'll be many different characters, different personalities. So it's not coming together in a group means you all have to be exactly the same. But if there's that common purpose and the mutual respect in the group, then everyone benefits and we can learn from each other and gain good things from each other. can share knowledge. We can achieve more, because when we work together as a group, then we can do more, whether it's physical work or any kind of activity. The more heads put together and more bodies come together to complete that activity, usually it goes better, doesn't it? Ajahn Chah used to compare the harmony of the group to the millipede. If people are working together with harmony, respect, then things tend to go smoothly. Even if there are obstacles, can ride through the obstacles. Just like a millipede walking along the floor. Millipedes, if you see them, they kind of glide over the rocks or the earth. We get a lot of millipedes here in the summer. You see them. And they move very smoothly, even though they've got hundreds of legs. They don't trip over, each leg doesn't trip over the other leg. And that's like people working in harmony. We don't trip over each other. We support each other, and the overall movement is one of beauty and grace. There's something beautiful about human beings who support each other as opposed to fight each other or go against each other. Another thing we learn from the harmony on the outside is the importance of developing harmony on the inside. One way you might describe the development of a human being, a human mind through this practice of what the Buddha taught is learning to find inner harmony. And we say progress comes when all the factors of the Eightfold Path are harmonizing together in the one mind internally. So that's right view, right thought, right action, right speech, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right samadhi. Those are 8 factors of the path, but they all come together in one mind, our mind. And when we cultivate them together and they're supporting each other, then in the same way as when we support each other on the outside, many people helping each other, on the inside these different qualities support each other to bring up a sense of well-being, a peaceful mind, a calm, concentrated mind, and then insight. Clearly seeing the true nature of things so that we can remove greed, anger, delusion from our mind. All those 8 factors have to work together, like 8 friends. And when we say we have a Buddha statue behind us, a very large Buddha statue, we have statues of Sariputta and Moggallana. If you want to lift a heavy statue on your own, it's difficult. You might break your back doing it. But if you have 7 other friends, there's 8 of you, then you can lift even a very heavy statue, put it where you want. So much of the Buddha's teaching is like that. It's encouraging us to develop a number of different qualities which will support each other mutually. Work together for the ultimate goal, which is Nibbana. We just chanted that. Nibbana Vadanti Buddha. Nibbana is the highest, it's the supreme, it's the aim of this practice. What does Nibbana mean? Well, it may mean different things to different people, but really it means the mind that is cool, peaceful, because greed, anger and delusion have been extinguished, they've gone. So when we listen to this teaching, the Awada Patimokkha, we're reminding ourselves that human beings can achieve that. And it's the highest achievement of human beings. It's the best, it's the best thing a human being can develop and experience. And that's not to put down other achievements that humans can create and experience in every field of life. There are many things we achieve, but nothing quite matches Nibbana. So every time we recollect the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and on these sort of occasions where we come together to remind ourselves of particular events in the Buddha's life, it's helping us to refocus our mind on this quality of Nibbana, the coolness of the mind, the letting go of greed, anger, delusion, the experience of that. And we're reminding ourselves that it can be done. Human beings can do this. It's not just the Buddha, but on this day, Magha Puja, as we'll recite in a moment when we recite the verse of Magha Puja, 1,250 arahants, the first enlightened disciples of the Buddha, came together on this day. It's a large number of arahants. It's no small thing. It's a reminder that human beings can practice what the Buddha taught. Even though we hold the Buddha up as our teacher, he was still a human being with human qualities, a human mind, a human body. And those arahants and all the arahants since the time of the Buddha, they've had human mind, human body, just like us. They were born into the world, grew up in the world, and faced the same kind of difficulties that we do. It's not like they somehow had it good or had it easy, and we're the ones having to face all the difficulties, and all these enlightened people somehow had an easy ride, an easy time of it. They had to face exactly the same problems that we face every day. As we know, if we read about the enlightened monks, nuns, and lay people from the time of the Buddha, many of them started off in families, working, earning a living. Some were rich, some were poor, some were from a well-educated background, some were very, very poor farmers, but they had certain qualities that they brought to fruition, these 8 factors of the path. They learnt to cultivate them, to develop themselves until all these 8 factors were perfected. And each of those individuals reminds us that we can do it as well, because we have the same raw materials, the same things to work with that they did. We have this body, this mind. And we say the Buddha was the unsurpassed teacher of devas and humans. He's the best teacher, and we still have his teachings here, even though the Buddha's no longer with us. The words of the Buddha, the teachings, the path of practice is still here. And we've all been born as humans, and we, as humans, can train ourselves. We can practice, and that sets us apart from, say, the animal kingdom, where they're very limited in what they can learn, animals, even though they can be lovable and can be supportive and helpful to humans, but generally they can't realize the Dhamma or cultivate the Eightfold Noble Path like we can. But it's a path of practice, training, practice, and we have to take what we hear, what we chant, what we hear, what we read, and then put it into practice. That's the hard bit, isn't it? Because there's so many obstacles around, so many distractions, so many other things to do in life. Bringing these teachings into our daily life is a challenge. But like all the other enlightened people since the time of the Buddha, that's what we have to learn, how to bring the Dhamma, the practice of the Dhamma into our daily life and bring up these qualities internally every day. Abandoning the unwholesome, cultivating the good, developing the path, learning to live harmlessly with the people around us. Whatever they're doing, that's different, that's their affair. But we have to learn for ourselves how not to harm ourselves, harm others. Because when we harm other people through our speech, our actions, we're harming ourselves. And just look at your mind. If you get caught into anger or more selfish or destructive thoughts, you're not happy. If you direct them to other people and that leads on to a harmful behavior, you won't feel good about it. You won't feel happy remembering what you've said or done. So when we give in to our anger or selfishness, we're only harming ourselves. The last teaching the Buddha gave in the Ovada Patimokkha, adicite ca ayogo, dedication or devotion to the higher mind. That's the flavor of this practice. We're always aiming to develop a higher, better state of mind. May not come as quick as we want. Everyone wants quick results in the practice, but at least keep that in mind. That's our aim, is always to raise the level of our mind up from the mental defilements which keep kind of crowding in every day. That means we need to develop particularly a lot of effort and a lot of mindfulness every day, bringing up this quality of self-awareness, self-reflection, watching ourselves. The Buddha can't watch for us. Other people can't do this for us. They can help us a little bit, reminding us what we're doing in the practice. That's one of the benefits coming to a monastery. You get a reminder. But in the end, you have to do this for yourself. You have to learn to watch over yourself. So we have to be devoted to that. The Buddha encouraged us to make it important in our life, to watch over our own mind, look after ourselves. We can't always rely on other people to look after us. Maybe sometimes they're not there. You're hoping someone else will do the job for you or protect you or give you what you need. Well, sometimes that may happen, but not always. We also have to develop our own inner strength in the practice and learn to be strong, dependable, responsible in our own practice. So we have to learn to look after ourselves. That's why the practice of meditation is so fundamental to cultivating the Buddhist path. When you meditate, even though you might be sitting like just now, we meditated, many people sitting here together, but when you meditate, you close your eyes and you forget about everyone else. Why? Because you're taking the utmost care with your own mind as you meditate. But it doesn't mean to say you're cutting off everyone else. The more you understand and look after your own mind, well, in your life you'll be able to give more back to other people and treat them better, understand them better. But we need these times when we also really focus on our own mind. And that's what meditation is, learning to turn our attention inwards and watch over this mind so we understand it, can see the truth of it. So when you practice meditation, Ajahn Chah used to say, just imagine you're sitting somewhere totally alone, on the top of a mountain, in a forest somewhere, even though you're sitting with other people. Close your eyes, just to bring up that perception, that image, you're totally alone. That helps you to drop a lot of distracting thoughts. We always think about sounds we hear, what other people are up to, looking at others, competing, comparing, looking up to some, looking down on others. We have to learn to stop that, at least sometimes. Interrupt that pattern in our mind, and that's what you're doing in meditation. Turning your attention inwards, focusing it on something very calming like the breath. When you focus on the breath with mindfulness, you're mindful of the breath. You don't have to think about anyone else at all at that time. You're allowing your mind to completely relax and get a holiday from all those thoughts about family, work, the past, the future, what this person said and what that person said and did. You can drop it all because you're just coming to the breath, your own breath in your own body, bringing out this ability to pay attention to yourself. Of course, a lot of those thoughts will come up as you're meditating. You'll have memories about past events, good and bad, other people. You have thoughts about what you're going to do in the future. Of course, they'll come up. But you're changing your attitude to all those thoughts. As you meditate, you're saying, they're not important. I can let them go now. What's important is just being aware of the breath, the mind that's with the breath, knowing that, watching that, and letting go of everything else. And as we practice that regularly, every day, maybe even many times a day, some people, but I would recommend every day practice this. You're getting used to being fully aware of yourself, your body, your mind, at least once a day, and letting go of everything else. And then you have the best opportunity to really know your own mind and practice this skill in letting go. When we say letting go, it doesn't mean to say you're giving up on your family or your work or the world, but you're practicing letting go of all the attachments that form in your mind every day. Because that's where suffering is, isn't it? The attachment and the identification with every thought, every feeling, every memory, every bit of body and mind. If we're not very mindful, we just automatically attach to everything with this sense of self. Me, mine, I'm like this, I'm like that. We do it all the time, quite automatically. If we've never developed much mindfulness and never looked and watched what's going on, then we won't even realize it. One of the difficulties when you come to practice meditation in the beginning is the sense of self comes up. And it's quite challenging, confronting to do this because you're suddenly seeing all your attachments to your different feelings, reactions to things, what you like, what you don't like, all your views and opinions that come up, what you want about, what you want from your life, what you expect, the way things should be, and then a lot of aversion about how things are that you don't want it to be that way. Things shouldn't be like this, shouldn't be like that. When you're practicing meditation, you're getting to know that, the voices of the mind, the commentary on your experience, always having an opinion on things, remembering these opinions, holding on to them, clinging on to them. This is what we call attachment. A lot of it is just very simple things. Like you're sitting and you may have a pain in your leg. If you're not very aware, your mind immediately is put into maybe a state of agitation, maybe even ill will arises, and you get annoyed. Maybe you blame yourself, say, I'm no good at meditation, or my body is no good, too many pains. One person came here once, they even blamed the Buddha. The Buddha said I should meditate, and now I got all this pain, I blame the Buddha. That's what aversion does, isn't it? Ill will makes you look around to blame somebody, try and pin it on somebody. Mindfulness and awareness is the opposite. developing mindfulness and observing, watching the way things are, you're changing this whole process. You're seeing, pain arises, but is this pain a person? Can I blame anyone for it? Or is it just a feeling? Is there really a self in this pain? Or is it just one experience? We don't really complain much about pleasant feeling when we're feeling good, comfortable in ourselves. And we don't really complain much then. We just enjoy it and tend to attach in another way, don't we? We attach to pleasant feeling. We enjoy it. We want to hold on to it. We want more of it. We only see the suffering of that when it disappears and we want it back again. But painful feeling straight away brings up a sense of self. I don't want this. I don't like this. This is where you investigate. And if you can establish mindfulness using the breath as like your anchor, then you might sometimes experience it where you're just seeing a painful feeling arise, pass away into your mind, but you don't react with anger or ill will. You just know it. Or it may be an unpleasant memory about something that happened that you didn't like. Comes up, but you just know it, watch it, and it passes away, and you don't feed on it, you don't attach to it, cling to it, but you just know it for what it is and let it go. This is what we're developing, this skill in meditation, the ability to let go of the sense of self that forms around our experience of body and mind. Why do we do that? Well, when you do it, you feel peaceful. This, what we call watching, observing experience, is watching from a place of peace. You're not creating any suffering out of your experience, even if it is painful. You're just watching it, knowing it, and letting it go. Occasionally that is even the cause for that painful experience to finish anyway, because you're not attaching to it, it quickly disappears. Even if it doesn't disappear, it keeps coming back. You're changing your attitude, so you're no longer creating this sense of self and building up into something big. This is what we call dedication or devotion to the higher mind. You're kind of like bringing your mind up to a level where it can watch without clinging, and it's peaceful. And if you do that more and more, then sometimes you might experience a state of mind of samadhi, where the mind is really peaceful on the inside, not wanting anything else, totally satisfied, content in the present moment. It's put down the burden of the past, put all the thoughts about the future down, the burden of the future is put down, so there's no anxiety, no worry, no fear, no expectations, just content in the present moment, aware, watching, but not creating self out of the experience. And this is what we call emptiness, the higher mind. It's empty. It doesn't mean to say completely vacant, it means empty of self, empty of attachment. And even if you only experience that briefly for a few minutes, it helps you readjust your whole perspective and attitude towards life, towards yourself, towards the world. Because you see how suffering is something we create in our mind and add on to our experience. And we label everything, and that's where attachment comes from. We attach to all kinds of labels. This is good, this is right, this is what I like. That is wrong, that's bad, it's what I don't want. We do this all the time in the world. Most of the time when we're not very mindful or aware, we just get stuck on the labels. About ourselves, I'm like this, I'm a good person, I'm a bad person, I'm young, I'm old, male, female, I'm a good meditator, I'm a bad meditator, hopeless meditator. I'm the best meditator. Where does all that come from? This is all creations of the mind, isn't it? It's the labels, the perceptions we develop and add on to our experience. The empty mind, free from attachment, there's no labels. You've seen through the labels, you've put them down, and you get a nice rest from all that labeling, comparing, creating self out of your experience. So it's peaceful. But peace based on mindfulness and wisdom and understanding. And the more you experience that, if only briefly and if only occasionally, it helps you to look back at the world and realize you don't have to suffer so much in life. Because all those things you're suffering with are coming from this clinging without understanding, clinging to the labels, good, bad, better, worse, superior, inferior, like, dislike. You know, our mind gets tired with it all, doesn't it? Always running after the best thing, running away from the worst, but then looking back at ourselves, judging ourselves, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm terrible. It's very tiring. But when you watch what's going on, then your mind gets tired of running around, attaching to all this. And it inclines more and more to the peace of the empty mind that is knowing and watching but not attaching. And this is the higher mind the Buddha is encouraging us to move towards. And all of us can achieve it. Maybe you already have achieved it sometimes, and it's given you motivation and inspiration to keep practicing. Once you experience a peaceful mind, you don't forget that easily. It's such powerful good karma, it goes right into your heart, and it's a very powerful conditioning process, so it'll come up again. It's like you've planted seeds for the mind to experience that again, but it has to come through practice. It's not something you can buy or just wish for, or you can't just do it through sheer willpower or demand it from someone else, demand it from the Buddha or from some teacher. You have to develop the path, develop the right conditions, but it will happen again. If it's happened once, it can happen again. In the gap between the time when you experience it and then you go back to your more normal state of mind and you say, oh, when am I going to have the peaceful meditation again? Well, you have to rely on a lot of other qualities. The faith, the patience, the endurance, the effort. That's why the Buddha kept saying these qualities are what you need in the practice. But if you've had some experience of the peaceful mind, then you're sure it can happen. You're sure you can let go of your attachments, if only briefly. So then you want to do some more, and you keep going, even though there's difficulties. Nobody says the practice is easy. In fact, if you say it's easy, probably that's a sign you're not trying very hard. Realistically speaking. But at the same time, it's not impossible. Another problem is we often get caught up with time, don't we? Because we're so used to judging our life in terms of time. So I've got to go to work at this time and work for so many hours, come back, and then I've got these other tasks to do. Or I go and study, and I'm learning for so many years to get my certificate, my degree. Or I go to work and I'll work so many months and then I'll move there, or then I'll change roles, or then I'll get a pay rise. Or we enter lockdown, and lockdown's going to last this many days, this many months. We're always obsessed with time, so we bring that way of thinking into our meditation as well. So sometimes we'll sit there and say, oh, my mind is still all over the place. Why haven't I achieved more than this? I put all these hours in to my meditation. Why haven't I achieved more? And that only keeps us further away from letting go. So let go of the sense of time as well. It doesn't matter. Just enjoy the meditation when you're doing it. The past you can drop, the future you can drop. Just get to know the object of meditation. If it's the breath, just get to know the breath. That's all you need to know. Let go of all the sense of time, comparing what you've done before, what you hope to do. What most people say is when they experience a peaceful mind, they have this feeling, why didn't I do this before? Why did I spend so much time thinking about it, complaining, getting disappointed, trying too hard, trying not hard enough? When the mind finally drops all that stuff, then it's like, oh, where's this been all my life? Why didn't I do this many years ago? But that's simply because the sense of self drops away. And you're experiencing this inner peace, the empty mind, the content, happy mind that doesn't need anything else. That may fade from your experience, but as you go on with your life, you can say, that exists, the happy mind that doesn't need anything else. So then you can compare that with other things in your life. Say you're really obsessed with getting something, you can say, but the happy mind doesn't need this, so maybe I don't need it. Or you're worried about something, you've experienced the mind free from worries, so then you know, these worries, maybe they're not necessary, maybe I'm just creating suffering out of nothing. Or aversion, anger, ill will, even hatred. The happy, content mind doesn't need any kind of anger or ill will. So maybe I don't need to hold on to my angry thoughts, I can just let them go. It strengthens your ability to keep practicing and letting go of all the negative states of mind, the mental defilements which causes suffering. Because you've seen before, I can let go of things before, so I can do it again. And there's no age limit on this. It's not like, oh, I'm too old to do this. You can let go of your mental defilements on your deathbed, however old you may be when you die. We don't know. You could be 90 years old, struggling with a body that's totally weak, painful, but you can still let go, can't you? You can still practice letting go of a worry or fear or some anger towards somebody. You can do that right to your last breath of your life. That's why every moment is important. We're not practicing for some point in the future. We're practicing right here and now. Whether you're 90 years old or 50 years old or 20 years old or 10 years old, it doesn't matter, does it? The important time is right here, right now. Where does the future come from anyway? It comes from here and now. A good cause in the present moment will lead to a good result in the future. But if you're just hoping for something good in the future and totally unaware of the present, well, you're not laying the good foundations for that future, are you? You're missing it. Or some people are always dwelling in the past. Another problem, always carrying along the memories, what went wrong, the mistakes, the bad things that happened, carrying it along as though worried that if they put it down or let go, they'll suffer or lose out in some way. If I put down these memories that I've been carrying around, I'll have nothing left. If all those memories include a lot of suffering, well, why not try putting it down? It doesn't matter anymore because the past is gone. You can't return there. You can't recreate the past. We haven't done that yet. We haven't invented the time machine to get you back there to recreate it anyway. You just have to let it go. But when you let it go, it's peaceful. When you think about yourself in your life, you think, oh, I'm very successful, or I'm a loser, or I've done a lot, or I've done a little, I'm good, I'm bad. Really all that matters is the present moment. So all those thoughts about who you think you are or feel you are, you're really just holding on to a lot of memories and views, like baggage. Because every moment is a fresh moment, a new moment, and you can always bring the Dhamma to the new moment. You can let go of any suffering in the present moment if you're mindful and you're looking after your mind. You can do that. But still, we're reluctant to let go, aren't we? We like to carry a heavy weight. The heavy weight of our past, who we think we are, our hopes, our fears. So we're like the man carrying the heavy rock who meets the person and says, why don't you put the rock down? You're sweating and struggling with this heavy burden. Why don't you just put it down? Oh, if I put it down, I've got nothing left. It's a very common experience, isn't it? You meditate and you're just getting peaceful with the breath, and then the doubt arises. Oh, but if I let go of everything, I'll have nothing left. Oh no, I can't do that. Fear arises, doubt arises. So your mind pulls back. Instead of enjoying the peace of letting go, it just pulls back to thinking again, worrying again. Back to the worrying, back to the suffering. And we do that all the time. Sometimes we have to be a little bit brave, follow the Buddha and say, well, let it go, you'll be happier. It's not like you lose anything. You've still got your body here, your mind is here, everything is here. It's just you're letting go of suffering and the cause of suffering. So the Buddha was encouraging us to practice in all his teachings, the Awada Patimokkha and all the other Dhamma teachings we listen to and remember, all pointing in the same direction, developing the qualities of the path, sila, samadhi, panya, learning to look after your mind and let go of all the greed, anger, delusion that causes suffering and cultivate inner peace, well-being. Whether you're getting quick results or slow results, doesn't matter. As long as you're going in the right direction, you'll get to Nibbana one day. Just keep going. So maybe for tonight, I'll just leave you with these reflections, and in a moment we'll recite the verses for Magha Puja.